if you have these two hypothetical athletes and they go into the jump training program, you're actually, the standard model really puts you into a jump practice program, because a lot of the jump training seems to be, let's practice the jump, right? And therein lies the problem, is that the answer you're trying to solve is, how do I improve the jump, not how do I display the jump over time, right? And again, it goes back to what level of athlete do you have experience with? Because if you have, an amateur athlete that wants to improve jump height and really doesn't have a lot of any other training, you can pick any one of those qualities. You can say increase absolute strength. Yeah, they're going to jump higher. You can say increase calf raise. Yeah, they're going to jump higher. But again, the signal to noise, you can't really take that person and then make conclusions as to how to train the next person who might already have maximized the capacity to use the tissues they have. So now if we take the same example and we take the guy who jumps as high as they can jump, that jump is a direct result of the accumulation of the capacities they have. So what are the capacities? Their absolute strength, their ankle range of motion, which is the access point to how much tissue they can actually use in that jump, the amount of red stuff, the muscular tissue, how fast can that tissue function, the stiffness of the connective tissue, and where does that contraction go into. That jump is all an accumulation of all of those factors. And if you get a person who has maximized those factors, that's where we find out how to improve jump height. And the way that you improve jump height in that person is not to say, just go and jump. They've already done that. In that case, it's to say, okay, where can we raise the bar in their individual tissue capacities in order to allow them to jump higher? So here's the example. You have that athlete. And again, I think a lot of it goes back to the assessment, because if you don't have an assessment in place to be able to tease out the differences between problems with muscular versus connective versus joint versus neural, you'll always use the standardized concept of, like you said, how much weight can you push on the bar, right? Which is not good enough. Like, for example, if you have an athlete who's maximized the amount of jump height they can get out of their tissues, well, we can say, okay, well, in their FRA, what is their dorsiflexion capacity? In other words, how much can they dorsiflex their foot in order to generate potential energy that can then be utilized into kinetic energy to make this jump occur? And if they can, let's say, dorsiflex their ankle to 95 degrees, well, that restriction in ankle dorsiflexion restricts the access to tissue that would then allow them to drive more force through that plantar flexion movement. So in order to train that person more, it would be a matter of not doing, like you said earlier, you listed 8 or 9 exercises that in a standard model, if you go, we want to increase jump height, what are we going to do? And you said they might do squats and they might do this and they might do that. So you actually listed 8 or 9 exercises. And the way that we understand exercise from a historical perspective is each of those 8 or 9 is getting, 3 by 5, 3 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 10 or whatever it is. And when you take 9 exercises and you multiply them by 3 sets an exercise, you have an inordinate amount of information that tissue has to process. And what we're trying to say is that the body only has so many resources. The nervous system can only pay so much attention at one time to a particular quality. So getting back to what I was saying before, we might erase, 8 of those exercises, and we might keep, let's say, a squat.